You also will note on there that I am a model. It says it on Instagram, so it's true.
Oh, it's so true. Yeah.
If it's on the internet.
It literally says, I am a model who happens to be a top real estate agent.
Oh my God.
Hello and welcome to the Imperative Narrative Podcast, the show by storytellers, about storytellers, and for storytellers. We are your hosts, Lucas Arnold
And Kurt Camphausen, and our guest today is a nationally known real estate agent, but from Little Rock, Ray Allen of Pixel Properties.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, thanks for being
everybody.
here.
Thank you. I don't mean to correct you, but internationally.
Oh, internationally.
Yes, yeah.
Sorry. I didn't want to be incorrect.
The Bearded Minute Real Estate Show is international.
Yes.
So that's one of the. We actually do
put you over.
We literally have a guy from Italy that tunes in every time. Massimo,
Oh, wow.
He's an awesome dude.
That
Harold
awesome.
from Israel. So yeah,
That's
These guys
awesome.
from Israel. Well, we'll get to those shows a little later. To start off, though, tell us who you are, what you do, and how long your journey to getting to this point.
So my name is Ray Ellen, Rayellen. That's an inside joke to Kurt there. But let's see, I got into real estate in 2006. I was an assistant to a whole bunch of real estate agents. So I'd help them market and sell property. I got licensed in 2007 because I was helping a bunch of other agents make money. So I thought, it'd be a better idea if I made money. And we had an incredible 4 or 5 months. And then the world real estate market crashed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we hung out there for a little bit. We still did okay, but I wound up going into business brokerage because I had a real estate license. I could sell commercial property and also a business attached to it. So I went into business brokerage for a little while, became broker of the year 2009, owned my own firm with a partner, wound up owning a restaurant, marketing company. Long story short, we wound up back in Little Rock in 2013 and sold all the other stuff and just went full bore into residential real estate. So the hope was eventually, even back in 2006, we wanted to create a real estate brokerage. We didn't know how we would get there, if we'd have to partner with somebody, work with a current company or what, but that was kind of always the hope. So when I restarted in real estate in 2013, I just focused on the processes and systems and experiences that clients were having and just tried to give everyone the best experience possible as they either bought or sold a home. And we really went out of our way to try to sell houses, and we were selling them faster and for more money. And so I looked up a couple of years later, and we had better data than almost anyone in the marketplace. So in 2016, I started a Facebook page, and we started doing a little more marketing, a little more storytelling on that, a little more. Video until
you went 3 years from the time you came back from Lark before you started your own business Facebook page.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, and the reason was I felt it was important for me to know what I was talking about before I stood up and announced to everyone that I knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Because here I am trying to sell their largest investment. I wanted to make sure that I'd put myself through it, investing each experience into the next to hopefully be the best service provider out there for real estate. Gotcha. So yeah, I didn't launch it until June. I didn't do much with it then. It wasn't until we started doing video, I guess, in 2017 that it really took off.
So during that time, you were doing research while also working at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty much all the time I'm researching. I was either researching the processes or systems, or once we had that kind of planned out, mapped out, I started researching the effectiveness of whatever ads we were doing, photos, back then blog posts.
So were you doing more traditional type of marketing for real estate during that 3 years?
Yeah, a little bit. Okay. Yeah, we did. We didn't do much TV or anything, but I think we did a little radio. We did a little news, print, still the old school, like door knocking. I still do that to this day. Phone calling, cold calling, all that stuff. Yeah. So we did it all. And part of it was to earn the respect of other agents that have been in the business for years and years that would say, hey, try this. And I would try it and try to master it and try to do the best I could at it and give it a go. And so, yeah, I guess you could say I was kind of earning my wings a little bit.
I like it. Now,
earning, is that a phrase? Earning your wings?
I mean, that sounds
right. Is that from the what's the movie?
Top Gun?
Christmas movie. No.
That's exactly where we both went. Our wings. I don't know.
It's like
Clarence.
Clarence,
yeah. It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, it's a Wonderful Life.
Oh,
every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
Gets its wings.
Gets its wings.
But earning, I think.
Earn it works.
To earn it. Okay.
So the main theme overall of this podcast thus far has been us interviewing storytellers, mainly creatives, filmmakers, photographers, and so forth.
Okay.
So I bet a lot of people listening to this are going, why in the world our current Lucas interviewing a real estate agent.
Yeah,
So
that's a
how
good
in the
question.
world does your brand dive into storytelling? Because it does big time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what happened was
See, what had happened was.
I was going to hold open 2 open houses for other agents because it didn't have any listings, didn't have a lot of money. So I was like, I'm going to hold a open house on Saturday and Sunday because I need money.
Yeah.
And one way to do that is you hold those open, people come through, you connect with a couple of the buyers, and you help them find a house. So I got word that the Saturday open house had gone under contract and they wanted to cancel the open house. So that was down to 1. I was like, well, that's not fun. Then I got word that the other one had gone under contract. They also don't want to hold the open house. So I had 0 open houses, and it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday of the week. I couldn't find anyone else to hold open. So I made a short video, and to this day, it's only got like 1,000 views, but it's one of the most talked about videos, but like, people will tell me about it. So there's something weird going on with view count because people know about it.
Yeah.
Or maybe somebody like copied and reposted. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Anyway, I did this short video on my phone in my pickup truck about don't wait on an open house. Because if you're waiting on the open house, there's a good chance that it could sell before the open house, which is exactly what happened to me. And so then did I say meh?
I think you did. You like started the word.
Meh.
To
I just
meh.
finished. I don't finish words. I like to leave people hang.
Write
So-
that down. That's why it's
Good.
so successful.
Yeah.
Did you get that? So
Yeah.
I like to leave people hang.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's good. So the puns run deep.
Mm.
So
Dad status.
I made this little short cell phone video. I edited it on iMovie. I put some music behind it, some cool transitions, and
iMovie. Yes.
I stuck it out there. And it I got 2 or 3 leads from it, from friends, clients, people that saw it, past clients, people that referred it, and it was super effective. And that's when I thought, okay, there's something to this video thing because I got a lot of people's attention.
Yeah.
Where's the real estate world at that time in regards to video, just overall?
Like that was pre Facebook Live.
Okay.
So even people that weren't good on video weren't doing video. People that were really good on video weren't doing video because it was too expensive. And that's what always kind of got everyone in real estate is the budget. Like, because you only make a certain amount per property. And if I'm only going to make $1,000 from the sale of a property, I can't spend $1,000 on a video.
Yeah.
So you had to have the tools and technology to be able to create something quickly, easily, and cheaply. And so that's why a lot of people started doing it on cell phones at that time. So I used to make listing videos on my cell phone with iMovie.
Yeah.
And then you eventually brought on a filmmaker and you started kind of upping your game. So what was that process like of upping your game, technically by hiring on different filmmakers, and what kind of shows do you have now?
So that's a huge jump. I was doing the videos, the listing videos, and I was paying money to boost them and get them out there, and people were watching them, commenting, all that kind of stuff. And then I had a guy reach out to me, and it was on my list, like, find a guy to do a better job of this, right? Because I was just it wasn't great. It was functional, right? But it wasn't beautiful.
I remember the scuba video you made.
Terrible. I thought it was funny, and then I did the video.
I thought it was
like,
funny.
ugh.
So in case you haven't seen it, Ray, it was like really raining outside. You wore like some scuba
It was
gear.
rainy for weeks.
Yeah.
And weeks and weeks. And so I left the house and I said, hey, I'm going to go show some houses. And then Katie, my wife, was like, wait, you forgot this, and hands me a snorkel. And then so I put on the snorkel and the mask and like walk out of the house to show houses. That was
That's
it.
pretty funny.
I mean, it's clever, but
Yeah.
it was terrible acting. I mean, terrible acting. So,
gotta
and
show
that's the
itself,
other thing, honestly, that I had to get over first was seeing myself. Because, a lot of the creatives you guys have on the show aren't on this side of the camera.
Right.
And
It's true.
it's easier on the back side of the camera. It's when you're creating, because you're like, well, I'll just fix that in editing. I'll just fix that. I'll just fix that. When you're in front of the camera and you don't know how to fix stuff,
Yeah.
like, well, I mean, that just is terrible and I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
And I didn't like how it looked. I didn't like how it sounded. It was just, I didn't like it. So it took a lot of work getting comfortable in front of the camera. Snapchat helped there because I knew whatever I posted on Snapchat, it would be gone in 24 hours, right? So low risk, just snapping away, like getting used to seeing myself on camera. And then I would start to do my listing videos. I got really good at holding my hand like up and really awkwardly in a bent arm selfie, to where if you saw the video, you didn't really know if I was doing a selfie or if someone was filming it.
Holding the camera. Yeah.
And when Micah came on board, that one of his first questions was, who's doing your filming? I'm like, well, that I am. And he's like, do you have like a tripod? I'm like, no, I'm literally like this. So, it's like, what?
Success.
What? So, Micah was a really great storyteller. And whenever you're in a corporate space, there's almost a line between, I call it artsy fartsy. You guys call it other stuff.
But we're going to bleep that out in the final edit.
There's a line between like artsy fartsy and then I call it corporate fast, right? Where you have just like churning out video as fast as possible, and it's a low, the quality is super good, but the story is not there a lot of times. Like a lot of the commercials you see, I mean, the quality of the commercial looks great, but that's a terrible story, right? Or you could be artsy fartsy and the quality is incredible and the story's there, but the call to action is
lacking,
non-existent or weak, or the plot doesn't match with exactly what you're looking to say.
And it takes a long time to make.
Right. So Micah, if there was a curve of artsy fartsy versus corporate, Micah was more on the artsy fartsy. So with Micah, whenever we would edit and talk through the things we were making, the listing videos, with him, I had to kind of focus on bringing it up to more the like call to action corporate, let's get the entire room, not just the faucet type of thing. Right. And then he eventually had to move. So for a time period, I was using Brad, who is another great filmmaker.
It's previously on the show.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, he's a fantastic storyteller. And at the time, he was so fast with everything that with him, I had to go more storytelling, right? More focus on that. So now he's like a combination of everything. And, he's a jack of all trades, can do it all. But at the time, with what we were trying to do, I had to be smart because I only wanted to use this time. So I would book like 3 or 4 listing videos in one morning, and he would go and shoot all of those in that one morning and then edit them. He was super fast at editing, but we would do all of that just back to back to back to back to back to be sensitive with his time. That way it's sensitive with my budget. Because if I like had him go out randomly every now and then, like it just doesn't work for a filmmaker.
Yeah.
So that's when we really started to up our game, is putting the higher quality pieces out there. And we still weren't doing it for all the listings at the time. So Brad helped us, actually Micah helped us create the Real Q&A show. And back in 2006, I was sitting in bed watching YouTube, and there was a guy that was tasting 3 wines and talking about it. And he would just tell you the truth about these wines. And he would tell you which one was good, which one was terrible, and they were selling the one that was terrible in their shop. But he was like, no holds barred, this is what it is. And then I saw him one day, he was like on Ellen or something like that, and he started tasting all these weird things because he said before he was able to drink, he would read the tasting notes and then he would taste that. So he had an expertise before he actually got to the wine. So this guy is Gary Vaynerchuk. But at the time, he was just some wine guy. Right?
Yeah.
And he was entertaining to watch. Mostly his first couple of shows were like not great actually. But then he got really entertaining, really fun. It created a fun community. And I told Katie back then, I said, somebody's got to do something like this for real estate. But it didn't make sense. Like, I'm not going to go taste houses. Like, how do you do that? Yeah. And then if you hire a photographer, videographer, and it's like, hey, we're going to have 3 different sets today. That your budget just went through the roof. So that's not practical. So how do you do this for real estate, budget sensitive? So we're trying to think through this, trying to think of ways. And then Gary releases the Ask Gary V show. And I thought, I can just take consumer questions and then give them honest answers with no scripts. Like, this is it. Like, ask me the question, I'll give you the answer. So that's when we started the Real Q&A show. And we're in our second season. We go very slow with these too, because in real estate, my primary job is selling the house, right? Yeah. So my secondary job is the marketing and all that kind of stuff. And that's what, some of the Real QA shows and consumer stuff, that's where its position is, I guess you could say, in the strategy. So we've done halfway through season 2, and we need to we'll probably shoot towards the end of the year, the rest of season 2. But that became a real fun show. Micah helped me start it, and then he moved. And then when Brad came in, he's kind of helped me take it from then on. And so we changed our logo for it not too long ago. So that's the update on the Real Q&A show. Yeah, but that led to other things. So the Real Q&A show was kind of is this show type thing going to be interesting to most people? Or are they going to find it interesting? Are they going to look for these answers? And what I need to do now is take all those old cuts and create like a wiki page to where people can find like, should I hire a home inspector, or why should I hire a home inspector, or should I buy an investment property that could convert to commercial, which was a real question that we took on the show. So I need to take the next step with the creative and make it more searchable, because we got great content out there. So now we just got to compile and make it searchable.
Yeah. So going along with that, I'm curious about this, because you are talking about how you constantly are researching and things like that. How does that feed into, hey, I'm going to create this thing and then see how it plays and how well it does, and then react from there? Like, what is the process with that? And you can use the real QA show as an example, or even just the real estate side of things. How does that work?
So in general, one of the mistakes I noticed other people in my industry making, and not directly related to real estate, but pretty closely related to real estate, because when we started doing that, there was no one doing anything like it. So you couldn't really look and say, well, this agent did that at the time. But one of the big mistakes is that they produce something and then don't do anything else. And they don't do a next episode or a third or fourth or fifth. So they're just doing one. And one of the decisions I made a long time ago is to give every creative piece that we're doing a very long runway, like a 2 and 3 and 4 year trial, and not a, hey, we're going to try this for 6 months. If we don't get anything from it, we're going to can it. Because with creative pieces like that, I just don't think that strategy works, because you find yourself in those instances wanting to do calls to action, call to action, call to action. And we wanted to give value. And we know that having the value out there will return to us. But if we're constantly doing calls to action, like use me, sell through this, do this, then people aren't going to watch it. They don't find that interesting or entertaining. And that's what, if you give someone a short runway, you automatically think, well, hey, we're halfway through this runway. We better make this thing make some money for us, or we're going to kill it. And I enjoy doing it. I don't want to kill it. Well, I enjoy doing it, so I'm not going to kill it.
Yeah.
So even if it doesn't make a dime, for the long game that we have planned for it, it's going to be successful.
Yeah.
But we know the long game.
Yeah.
Now, along with the Real QA show, you also have the Bearded Men of Real Estate show, which is going international, apparently.
International show.
And that's more like
the
a live.
Bearded Men of Real Estate show.
Yeah, and that's not edited. That's just live. You guys.
That is edited. So we actually just do that on Facebook Live.
Yeah.
Me and another bearded agent in LA. And basically we do the news headlines, what's going on, and then we do a deep dive into a couple of the main topics, and then we do our picks of the week, and that's the show. It usually lasts about an hour.
How did that happen? How did you get connected with a real estate agent in LA?
So when I had an idea for a show and the format, and there's another show called the Daily Tech News Show. It used to be, what did it used to be? It was on the Twit Network previously. It was like This Week or Today, Tech News Today. Yeah, Tech News Today with Tom Merritt. And they basically follow that format. I thought, man, that'd be fun to do with real estate, but you can't do that daily because there's not enough daily news. You'd be doing one article a day. There's just not a lot. Like today, Fed didn't raise rates. That's the show. That's not going to be interesting.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thanks for tuning in for the 5-minute show, which actually might be a great concept for someone. The daily real estate show. DR. I mean, we're just creating content right here for people.
Right now.
Man.
Anyway, so we thought if we did it once a week, we're basically compiling a week's worth of news articles, and it makes sense. So I was a member of a whole bunch of real estate agent groups online, and there was a guy who's a real estate agent. He had a red beard. He looked like the dude from, what's that show that everyone watches, Game of Thrones? There's a red bearded guy. I don't watch the show.
I haven't seen the show.
So anyway, there's a guy on there.
This is the first podcast where all three of us have never seen Game of Thrones. Like none of us.
No one's going to listen to any more episodes from here on out.
I'm busy. I'm too busy.
I know.
So anyway, the guy, he looked like him, so I memed him, with the red beard, and did something like that. And so we started talking kind of offline, and we started talking about the markets because he's in LA, and he was like, hey man, I've got this concept for a show called the Bearded Men Real Estate Show. He said, but I have no idea what it looks like. I was like, man, I've got a format for a show, but I have no idea who to partner with or what to do. And so that's how those two pieces came together. And we're on episode 65 or 66 now.
So, it's a weekly, every Wednesday at noon, right?
Yep.
Central Time.
Yep.
That's crazy.
So we've been doing it a long time
That's
now.
awesome.
So we've been doing it long enough where I know his mannerisms. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a long time.
That's pretty great.
From Little Rock to LA.
From Little Rock to LA. We actually stretch around the globe because we are internationally, but it also depends on which way you go.
Which direction you go. There you go. It's perfect. So now you also have a local show called Home Sweet Arkansas.
Yeah.
Which highlights a lot of local businesses here in the area. What was the thought process behind that?
So the thought process behind that is similar to the others. We basically want to create a library, a massive library of content. Mm-hmm. That's the goal. And if someone was searching for Little Rock, then they would find that perhaps. Or if they continued searching for like Little Rock places to eat, then they would see some of our shows about that. Or, we just did one with Wildwood. So if someone searched for art and parks in Little Rock, boom, it would come up. So we wanted to create libraries of content. We also wanted to kind of give back to the community because they've done so much for us that we wanted we want to always tell people, I want that show to kind of be like a hug for our community. Like, hey, here's what's happening that's really good. Here's a great restaurant. Here's a great place to go. And we didn't want to make it anything about real estate. So one of my pet peeves was people that do those type of shows. And some of them are my friends. Hey
just don't listen to this next part.
Just turn off if you're doing one of those. So when they say, hi, I'm Ray. And as a real estate agent, I eat at a lot of cool places. So let me take you to the because as soon as you say, hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm a real estate agent, it cheapens everything you say after that.
Yeah.
Because you've put a salesy
You're trying to
feel
sell
on it. So what we wanted to do is just say, hey, this is Arkansas. Hey, this is Little Rock. And eventually, hopefully, we'll have a lot of content in Little Rock, and we'll go outside Little Rock, go outside Central Arkansas to do more Arkansas. As Pixel begins to grow, then the whole concept of the show grows. Home Sweet Texas. I mean, that could happen, I guess, one day. Doesn't have the same ring to it.
Not quite.
But I guess it could.
We'll just have to change the logo in there.
But so that's the reason for this show is for people to see that and then be more interested, and then they see other things we do that then pulls them in, draws them into real estate. But we want a library of content, just like the Bearded Men Real Estate show. We want a library of content to where people can look it up and look up articles and all that stuff. The Real Q&A show, same type of. So with almost everything we do, we eventually want to sort it and put it into a place where people can find it easier.
Yeah. And the Pixel Properties website, I know, says on the very front, you guys are a real estate brokerage that operate. I'm from Boston, apparently. That operate more like a media
company. Yeah. So we are a real estate brokerage that behaves like a media company.
Yeah. Yeah. How's that? I mean, how has that changed? Has that changed the way that people see you guys as real estate agents? Has that changed completely changed even from 3 years ago, how you operate?
Well, I mean, I got a backhanded comment or compliment the other day when someone was like, well, you guys are high end. I'm like, well, I've never been called that before. I mean, have you seen me? Like, I'm a huge bearded dude, and for you audio listeners, very good looking.
Yeah.
And you have a very expensive Jeep as well.
Very, very nice Jeep. So I wear very nice tennis shoes. Yeah. So this is not like, but the perception of the media and the content we put out is high quality, in part thanks to you guys, in part thanks to the chief genius behind all the content.
In case you guys are wondering, I do the video stuff for right now.
Yes, most of it. So that's why. But the quality that we put out, and even in our photos, and even in our blog posts and things like that, the quality is one that lends itself to higher end. But we can do that for anyone. We do that for a $40,000 house. It doesn't show well on video, so we'll do something else. But we produce content for everyone, not just our high-end properties. So what's happening in the real estate world is it's starting to change. There's agents that are starting to put out, we do a show called the Housing Data Dump, which is the lowest budget show we do because it's free. And we can either do it with cell phone or we do it with our Logitech C920, who is not a sponsor but could be. then we do that live as well. I just go on live. I talk about the local market, and I'm producing value. I'm producing content, and kind of making waves in that. So there's a lot more agents that are starting to do that now. There's agents that are starting to do the restaurant shows all around the country. And if I had to do it again, I probably wouldn't pigeonhole Home Sweet Arkansas as a restaurant show. It kind of became that because I used to own a restaurant, so I'm familiar with it and comfortable with it, and I can talk to the restaurant owners. But I wouldn't pigeonhole it as a restaurant show anymore. I think agents are saying, well, I need to do a restaurant show. And that's cool, but I would suggest do what you're interested in, produce content around what you're interested in. I talked to a guy, and he was like, well, here's where I live. I live in this city. I said, what do you like to do? He was like, well, I like to go to the baseball games, the basketball games, or the football games, or we do this and that. And it was all sports related. I was like, well, why don't you do a sports show? He was like, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, talk about the facilities. Talk about the neighborhoods around the facilities. Do people get on the roofs in any of the complexes there? Like, what house can you get to sit on the roof and watch the game, right? Like, those are interesting pieces of content that, as a sports fan in the area, I would totally tune into. Tell me about the little leagues. Tell me about the best little league. Tell me about the private little leagues. Like, go into all that stuff and produce content around that. There's so many avenues. If somebody likes, I was talking with someone else and they like tattoos and bars. I was like, that's a perfect show title. Just tattoos and bars. And they had a funky town name. I'm not going to tell it because somebody else may take the idea before they do. But they had like a funky town name too. So I was like, well, that's that's gold. Produce that. And once you run its course and you've done every tattoo artist and bar in town, do something different. But for now, do all that content because that's what they were interested in. They were all tatted up and they drank.
That's awesome.
There you go.
So produce content around what you're interested in. And because you're passionate about it, more people will be interested in it. And you're also producing content around the community, and that's valuable for people that are looking at homes and houses. You'll wind up working with a lot of clients who like those things. So it just kind of makes sense. So I would have probably done something more versatile if I had to redo that show again, but I like where it's at. I like where it's going.
Yeah, that's awesome. So playing a little bit off of that, because you as Ray Ellen, at least locally and beyond, are well known. Like you have a personal brand that you've kind of built, as well as this Pixel Properties brand that you're building.
Yeah.
So you have a business and a personal brand. How do you go about figuring out either like how to build that? Because they're different. I would say they're different, but they're connected in a way, you know? So like, what does that look like for you? Or do you think about them as separate? Do you whenever you're trying to, you post something on your personal or you post something on your business page, what's that like for you?
That's a really good question. So in 2018, in February, we launched Pixel Properties. And at the time, I had my own team at another brokerage. So we launched Pixel Properties, moved my team to my own company, and I made the decision for the year not to market my team and to lend my own credibility to the brand of Pixel Properties and to do everything I could to uplift that brand. And so we would still obviously market our listings and try to, get stuff out for clients, but we would not market the team. And I think that helped me make that transition because Pixel Properties, we want to create a brokerage that goes national, maybe international. We'll have to talk to Massimo, see if he's interested. But definitely national real estate brokerage that's doing real estate differently and challenging the old guard. Because right now everyone thinks, well, if you have a good back end, if you have a good task manager for your real estate agents, then you're going to get the edge over this other company that has a good task manager. Well, agents don't want to trust your task manager with their task. They don't want to trust the broker with their data. So if agents don't want to upload their contact because they don't trust their broker, then the back end stops there and the effectiveness of the back end stops there. So we want to teach agents what to do to increase their brand as associated with Pixel Properties. So as an agent, I wanted to get our listings out there in front of as many people as possible so they could see our listings, and then the eyeballs would usually drive more traffic, and then the traffic would usually sell the house. As a brokerage, we want to do that for our listings. However, we also want to do that for our agents. So my goal is to have a platform where the agents can come, join us, and then they can put themselves out there in front of their sphere, in front of people who know them. They can do video, they can do photos, they can do blog posts, they can create content. And we have it all there. We have the platform, we have everything they need to use that. And then when they create that content, we actually pay money to boost that content that they've created to boost them to everyone we can. And so Pixel Properties now this year is starting to do that for my team again, which is only 2 people. It's just me and another person. But we use ourselves as the testing facility, right? So if there's a new strategy or someone that says, hey, y'all should try this, I'll try it first. And I might spend a lot of money on it and it fail, but at least I've saved an agent from trying that thing, spending a lot of money and failing. But sometimes I can spend some money on it, tweak it, spend a little more money on it, and then we find out what works. Then I tell our agents, hey guys, this is what we did, this is how we did it, this is what works. So as far as like brand identity, I've stopped thinking in the context of accounts and pages. And that's opened my mind to think about brand differently. And I think as entrepreneurs and as creators, we're like, okay, I've got this new idea, I've got this thing, so I need to create a Facebook page for it, right? We create the Facebook page. I need to create an Instagram account for it. We create the Instagram account. And then like, okay, website, create the website, right? And so then you have this really cool thing and it looks really hot and no one knows what it is, right? I mean, they could tell like it's something cool and creative, but they don't know who's behind it. They don't know. So I think a lot of people forget that the reason why most people use you, especially in the beginning, is because of you. Yeah. They're not using you because of the fancy brand. They're using you because they trust you, and they're using you because they know your quality of work. So I don't think creatives should shy away from putting themselves in the spotlight in order to lend the credibility to the idea or to the thing. And so for me and the team and all that, you know, I started a team way back when. I called it the Rock City team, right? And it was a tremendous failure because no one knew like who's the Rock City, like who's the Rock City team? Like why should I use them?
In front of them. Gotcha.
And so we changed it to Ray Ellen Group, quite obviously me.
Yeah.
And it's been a lot more successful because my friends and family want to use me for me.
Yeah.
And the minute they thought I was handing them over to a corporation, it got very uninteresting for them.
Yeah.
So as long as they knew that I am still involved and this is me, I'm just operating under this business, then they understood it better.
Gotcha.
And real estate's kind of funky. For those of you who don't know how real estate works, there's brokerages that have a principal broker and a license to be a broker. But then under that, you have all these real estate agents. And some of the real estate agents will team up. And so now they are operating as a team under a brokerage. So it's like a business within a business, I guess you could say. So that's the best way to explain kind of how real estate works. So we have some agents with teams. Most of our agents are individual agents. We take a lot of the pressure off of them by having staff and admin and things like that. So they don't really have to form a team unless they just want to. But yeah, I think that's
cool. So it like mutually benefits each other where like personal brand provides that face that like a disconnected company might not like, you can't really connect with that as well as you can a personal.
Right.
But then the business is also connecting all these people.
Right.
That helps boost and build each other.
Now I am starting to use more of the close friends on Instagram and the, I call them green circles. And then on Facebook, I'm starting to put people on lists because I don't put my kids anywhere on the internet anymore. It's kind of weird. They don't have a decision to not be there. So I don't want to put them there. It's just a personal decision. I'm like, I don't put my family out there, but I will now because of those close connections.
Gotcha.
Right. So I can have but usually my page and my personal page is something real estate related or something business related, something work related, fitness related, just kind of my own general interest. And sometimes things I just want to save somewhere, interesting things. That's kind of what I post.
Textures and patterns.
Yes.
Yeah. Save this wallpaper.
Yeah.
Save your wallpapers. So I do that's actually, I get a lot of text messages on those things too.
Really?
Yeah. Awesome. if I'm in a house and it's got old wallpaper or something unique or a really cool floor tile, I'll take a close up picture of it and I'll tell people, hey, save this as your
Is that
wallpaper.
where they all come from?
Yeah. Those are all
Wallpapers and
showing,
houses?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's cool.
Wallpaper or tile or cool floors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I know some people maybe hear, and they're going, wow, you have all these cool shows. You're obviously creating a lot of value, not only for clients, but for the community, for the real estate agents. But people may be like, well, at the end of the day, you still sell houses. How in the world do you tell stories around houses? But you've done that.
Yeah.
Because we did that for a house where a family lived there for 30 years. So how do you, these houses, a lot of these houses like tell very unique stories. How do you, I don't know, help expose those stories, for lack of a better term?
So we've created a couple of different formats. So the other thing, and if you're looking to start a brokerage, don't just join mine. But one of the things that we had to figure out was the scalability, right? So if I wanted to do that story that we did with that, and you can look it up, I think it's called A Home That Heals. Mm-hmm. If we wanted to run that type of story on every single listing, we couldn't afford it. I mean, it would be astronomical as far as time, editing. I mean, that took a month and a half to get out.
It was big.
Like it was a big project.
I mean, we had 6 people on camera, I think, at one point, or 7.
Yeah.
It was a 5-camera setup. Yeah. With
several
people there.
Tons of lights.
Yeah.
So we can't do that for every show or every house because it doesn't make sense. So we had to figure out a format that was scalable, fast, and very efficient. So I call it the standard listing video, where there's an agent out talking about the house, and then we show pictures of the house, and the agent's talking about it the whole time. And then we go back to the agent, and then we end with a little end scene. Those are usually a minute to 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes on a big house. Mm-hmm. But then we still have the ability and the talent, and I think the creative, to tell these stories like A Home That Heals, and then like the lifestyle video that we did for the one in Osage Falls that sold. Both of those sold. I think the Home That Heals sold because of the video. I think it created a ton of exposure. People were sending that house everywhere saying, watch this. And the house was super cute. It was charming, but it wasn't anything amazing. It wasn't anything that you would see on a standard listing and go, wow, what an incredible house. But the story and the heart in that house was phenomenal. And as I was talking to the client about why they were selling, where they were going, what they did while they were there, it became super important to me to get that story out. And so I asked them, can we try something different with you? And they're like, sure. And so they went on camera and told the story of their house. But for the most part, someone that's like, well, I'm moving because I got a promotion and we're buying a bigger house. Like, that's not like...
That's super relatable.
That's cool. Yeah. But that's not a story that's going to drive traffic to your home.
Yeah.
That's a story that's going to lend a lowball offer, right? Yeah. Hey, they just want to... They got a promotion. They can afford it. Send them whatever offer. Yeah. A sensitive subject where someone's having a divorce, right? Not going to do a story about that because that just doesn't make sense. But if the house itself is unique enough, you can find ways to tell a story around the house or a lifestyle video or something kind of unrelated to the seller. So you can use the sellers in some instances, but in most instances, I would say don't, and just kind of make the story about the house itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing I loved about it was, this family lived there for like 30 years. They built it themselves, right?
Yeah.
And what I loved was that they now have a video that they can carry on. And if they, that's like, I think that's the sort of thing that I realize is like, you live in these houses growing up.
Yeah.
And like years go by, you're like, I find myself, we used to live in Benton, Arkansas for a little while. And every blue moon, I'll just drive by this house I grew up at. And I'm like, that would be so cool to like have a video about that. Obviously, the house we lived in was not nearly as nice as that one. But that's like a neat thing that they
moved because his dad got a promotion.
Yeah, great.
The story wasn't there, that's for sure. Yeah. But anyway, that's a neat thing too.
Yeah.
They get to hold on to that. Yeah.
Sometimes the sellers want their photos for keepsakes too, so we'll send them.
Yeah.
We'll send them little follow folders.
Yeah, that's cool.
Or follow the photos.
So you had mentioned earlier, obviously one of the biggest obstacles for you was the market crash. Like that's a huge thing. What are some obstacles that you find yourself facing now or in this kind of new age or season for you of, marketing and realizing how you need to do it? What are consistent obstacles that you face in your field, and what do you do to overcome those?
Time and money. Those are the commodities that time is probably the most important commodity. And I could work 24 hours a day for a year with the list of to-dos that I currently have, right? So you have to figure out how to prioritize, and then sometimes you just got to make up for it and say, I didn't get that to you, but I'm going to try to get that to you today. But time is a huge issue. Today I'm just back to back appointments, right? So time is super sensitive. And when something happens, or like yesterday I was telling you, a client that has an emergency and that interrupts what you had planned, then you have to make up for it the next day.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I also want to create this video, right? So one of the things is trust, which kind of we have gained over time. I think this might be more interested to the creators that are watching. But if you can get your client to trust you fully, not because they trust your creative, but because they trust that you understand theirs, that's going to unlock the door for you to operate very quickly and get more accomplished. But as soon as they say, well, he doesn't understand what I'm looking for, that's the problem. That's when you'll get at 2 seconds, make this edit. At 3 seconds, make this edit. At 4 seconds, right? Mm-hmm. So, and you and I experienced this, and every film guy that I've worked with has experienced this. The first one they do, I just straight up tell them, prepare for a half day of editing with me. And they're like, nah, it's not like that. And then we literally sit down and go second by second through it.
Yeah.
Because I have a very specific, I know exactly what I'm looking for. I know what it should look like, but I can't move the mouse, right?
Yeah.
Or I don't have time to move the mouse, but I know what I'm looking for. And so there's some clients that have that they know exactly what the look and feel should be. And I would just say for your first couple of videos with them, sit with them and say, what do you want to change? Listen, here's a half day. Because spending that half day, even though it kind of costs you guys money because it's your time, right? And you want to charge by half day, full day, whatever. If you spend that half day 3 times, and the 4th or 5th one you do for them, they're going to be like, maybe change this. I don't know. What do you think? Right? And that's exactly what happened on the last one we did. Yeah. The one we did for Delta. You were like, hey, what do you think? I'm like, I didn't like the bloopers. Other than that, the show
That's
was...
the one thing, by the way, I can't get right for Home Sweet Arkansas. Yeah. It's the I'm just giving up on bloopers.
Well, you need to fail more miserably at these things.
Well, you need to fail funny, right?
Yeah.
So in my opinion, if you just mess up on something, people get uncomfortable, right? But if you mess up and something kind of funny happens, or there's laughter, or there's like a frustration that's funny or weird, or was a funny way, like when I stopped saying that word halfway. If like things like that can create a funny blooper, but if you're just like, dang it, messed up again. That's not funny. That's hard to watch.
Yeah.
That's like awkward. Now he thinks it's funny.
Yeah. Pretty hilarious.
But most people
10th take. Let's go.
But most people feel like awkward for that person. And they're like, oh man. And they're showing that now. Yeah. Right. So
it's like the first round of American Idol.
Yes. Yes.
It's horrible.
But some of that stuff is in there on purpose, of course, right? Yeah, so failing funny creates a good blooper, but just failing, it just, man, so many people just feel so bad for that person.
Yeah.
I can't watch other people. Like there are real estate agents around town that are doing like bloopers and stuff at the end of it. I can't watch them just because it's like, it's not funny. And that's like, there was one that was like, that's not funny. And that's racist. So, yeah, I mean, so be careful what you put out there. Yeah. So bloopers, in my opinion, are just as important as the rest of the show. Like every second counts.
So,
that should be
make sure you write them well, planned well.
Keep the blooper well. Plan the bloopers. But looking for those. So, as soon as you get on set, having something rolling, just something, a camera somewhere would be hugely valuable. Yeah. Because some people, when they think they're not on, do the funniest stuff, and then they get on and they get like stiff bored, right? And then their blooper's not funny because they're stiff bored. Yeah. But the few seconds, then they were like, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. That is funny.
Yeah.
So
that's why we leave our that's why we started our cameras about 10 minutes early. That's good. Before the people even get here.
I would totally do that if I were you. Like as soon as you hear them start coming up, I'd be like,
just roll.
I just roll one. Your widest angle, just to see what happens.
Yeah. So from a personal brand perspective, because we're out of Little Rock, Arkansas. Mm-hmm. We've talked about this on other episodes. Obviously, we're not at a status like a Denver or Austin or LA as far as creativity goes, or a hub for creativity necessarily. We're getting there. It's getting better.
I would wonder what your definition for hub for creativity is.
Well,
are you saying a large number of people who call themselves artists?
That and just a place where, I mean, we think of like in LA, like that's where a bunch of film production in particular happens.
Like, well, Hollywood, right?
Well, it's Hollywood, right? So I mean, I'm
but
just
is
saying,
Hollywood still creative? Are we having that discussion on the show?
I'm saying if you live
That's
in
a whole other episode.
I'm saying if you live in like Maine, you're not going to go. If you're a filmmaker, you're like, where do I want to go? Little Rock, Arkansas. I guess that's what I'm.
Okay, so you're saying it's not a destination town for.
It's not a destination town yet.
Okay,
but here's where I'm going with this question. You have managed to become an agent who, because of your creativity and because of just your success as an agent, you've now become a nationally known speaker. You've spoken at conferences all over the country. And as people who are working in Central Arkansas may be going, like, I would love to have that sort of platform for my job. What would you tell people to get to that point?
Why? So I have a very specific purpose for the reason why I want to go to conferences every now and then and speak, and for the people that I want to connect with, right? There's actually two purposes. One is I need to be well known so that people will refer me clients as they're moving into the area. So I have a financial purpose. They know me. I'm their Arkansas connection. They have a friend moving to Arkansas. Hey, let me connect you with Ray. So I can make money from that being known, right? The second thing is that the growth of Pixel is going to kind of depend on us moving outside of Arkansas eventually. And so starting those connections even 2 years ago was the purpose, right? So as a filmmaker, as someone who is making incredibly creative videos and all that kind of stuff, why do you need to be known outside of Arkansas? Or whatever small town that you're in? There is enough business around where you are to be incredibly successful and very wealthy just in your town. So unless you're in like super small town, then just go to the nearest metro, right? But there's enough business there, and there's all the time, like, this is like the storytelling, like the market for storytelling is huge right now, right? So you can make enough money and be very wealthy staying in your own area and creating videos and photos, blog posts, whatever you do as far as creative goes. Sound guys, I mean, they're creative too, right? So,
wow.
yeah.
Just kidding. We love the sound guys.
How much creativity is no, I'm kidding. But you can, musicians, right? You can make a lot of money just staying in your own town. Musicians eventually tour. Film guys don't necessarily have to tour, but you could. And so I think as you increase your quality, then major brands start to take a look. The first thing you do for a major brand, making sure that's perfect. Other brands are going to see that. They're not going to ask that guy, hey, who did it? Because they want to produce the same quality product. Like Coke is not going to ask Pepsi, hey, who did that video for you guys? That was a cool video. That's not going to happen. But other people will see it and wonder. And so being able to market that as here's what we've done. So having those social platforms ready, having the targeting ready if you're business to business, being able to put that on LinkedIn and say, hey, here's a commercial we did for so-and-so, or here's the shoot that we did for this. Those things are going to be hugely important to extending your reach to get the larger clients. But you can make a ton of money in your own town. So my question would be why? I don't know. I guess there's probably conferences and stuff like that for filmmakers and that kind of thing. So attending those and making connections with people there is going to help in some of that. If they know someone that's in Tennessee looking for someone to make a video and they know you're in Arkansas, they may say, well, this guy's close. Let me refer him. And so that could start to extend your reach. But having a portfolio, sending that portfolio, getting that in front of the marketing directors, getting that in front of the people that make the decisions, in front of the small business owners, I think that would be the key. And then you can just kind of move around as the business pulls you.
How did you get started? Like your first invite to be a conference speaker, what did you think when you first got invited?
So let's see. How did that happen? I have a guy that helps me in real estate, as a real estate coach. And I was telling him what we were doing, and they were looking at our numbers, and they were saying, well, this growth is kind of unprecedented. How did you do it? And I told them, well, this is what I did. And they said, yes, but are you also making phone calls? And I said, no, I'm not doing any cold calling during that year. They said, are you, what else are you doing? I'm like, no, I'm literally just doing this. And they said, if you have this sales from this strategy, we need to talk to you. And so that's when they invited me. I got the call and they said, hey, if you were to speak in front of 7,000 real estate agents, what would you say? And I told them, I said, well, this is what I'd want to say. And they're like, okay, would you deliver that for 7,000 agents? I was like, oh, sure. And I was like, oh, I haven't spoke since high school publicly. I was super nervous. I joined 2 Toastmasters, one that met on Monday and one that met on Friday. And I was going to those every single week, just practicing speaking in front of people. I was totally nervous. I had to give 18 minutes, like TED style talk on doing real estate with media. And it was super nerve wracking. And then from there, I got invited to other conferences and stuff like that. So it's just kind of making those connections. Most of the time, it does not happen that the first gig you're speaking in front of 7,000.
Yeah.
Yep.
I also have kind of shied away from the guru thing. I think gurus are ridiculous. Sorry, guru.
Can you just explain that a little bit
Yeah.
for those who don't know?
So the gurus that are like buying the Facebook ads,
obviously. For everyone else,
I don't know.
for pretending, yeah. So the gurus are those guys that buy the Facebook ads that get in front of you, and they're like, "Hey, if you want to know what really works, sign up for my free seminar on how to do this and that and this and that." If you just do a little bit of reading, you're gonna figure out what they already know. And so the trick is application, and then studying your own application of items to figure out what's working, and then to dive into that. But on the back of like something like that, I could have written a small book and say, hey, I'm a guru. And one day I might write a book, but I don't want to, I'm not a guru. I'm a normal dude that figured something out. Here it is. Take it or leave it. It doesn't affect me. If you don't do it, I'll just make more money.
Yeah.
So I've kind of shunned away, even though I think the opportunity is there to become kind of guru-y. But there's people that do far less in transactions, that have a worse business system and terrible marketing, that now are calling themselves gurus because of something they did 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's just not relevant anymore. And so I've shied away from the gurus, and I know there's film gurus out there too. There's got to be.
Oh yeah, they're all over the place for every field.
I was gonna start rebranding as the film guru, so I may have to rethink that.
Right. I think I have on your card video guru, don't I?
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh man, you're
Well, that's the title you gave me.
branded.
I did not call myself that.
So I want to create a T-shirt that says, "When is this going out? I need to print this T-shirt before this." I have a T-shirt now that says, "It says Guru, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing." Yeah, that's it. I like it. If you've read before, you would know what that is.
We've talked about this too. How little I read, so I need to work on that.
I can tell by the blank stare. You're like, "Oh, that's probably from something I should know."
It's probably insightful, but I don't know why.
That's so funny. That's great.
So, having obviously in entrepreneurship and in creativity, this is going a little bit into obstacles, but high and low times.
Yeah.
Like obviously there's that time, and especially with real estate, there's even seasons where like winters are a little bit more down or sometimes they're up. Although this year we were talking about it was a little bit different, but there are obviously low and high times. What keeps you going during those low times?
During the low seasons in real estate, the lack of money is the down. And it's because the pressure on me specifically to maintain a business that's running, maintain a team that's running, and also maintain a family. And so when the money gets short, the pressure gets really high. I happen to operate really well under pressure. So when the times are good, I have to create pressure, right? Or I'll get lackadaisical. I'm like, well, I have 3 million pending. That's pretty good. Maybe I can take a vacation, right? No, I have to create the pressure and the memory from being in real estate when stuff hit the fan. I didn't sell anything for 3 months, right? That happened in early 2017. Not a fun 3 months, February, March, April, coming off of Christmas, not having, January, February, March, not having any money for January, February, March. So because I remember that well, the thing that keeps me going in the high times is the memory of that. And Jim Rohn, the business philosopher guy, not the sportscaster, Jim Rohn, Jim Rohn, he always said, think like an ant. And he said an ant in the summer is thinking winter, 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 right? They're storing up food. They're storing up food, storing up food. And in the winter, the ants are saying, just hang on a little more. Summer's coming, summer's coming, summer's coming. And so that's kind of because especially because in real estate, summer tends to be the hot time. Although we sell houses, I tell people this all the time. I'm a real estate agent all year round. So I sell houses all year round for people that don't care about school districts or getting somewhere before that. And there's a lot of reasons why people move and have to sell. But during the low times, I know a time is coming when I will be taking more business than I can handle, when my phone will be ringing off the hook, which happens to be now. Like, let's just see how many missed calls. So I've gotten, since we've sat down, I've gotten over 71 text messages. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Your phone is
7,
so quiet.
8, 9, 10. 11,
I got one
12,
text message and I heard it
13,
buzz so loud.
14, 15 missed calls.
Oh my gosh.
Dang.
Since we've sat down, right? So
Man.
I should probably take some of those.
You're like, by the way, I have to leave.
By the way, yes. But I know that time is now. So right now we're kind of basking in it. But when when it starts to go south, then I'm thinking, okay, the time will come when all this turns around. But in the meantime, like not having the business spurs me on. So I tend to have pretty good downtimes. Like even my downtimes aren't terrible because we'll come out of it and we have like a ton under contract and things are going well. And then it just gets super busy. The thing that most real estate agents have to watch is when you have a ton under contract and then you're managing all those contracts. So you forget to lead generate during those times. And then all those close and you're like, oh no, I don't have anything under contract. So then you go get more under contract. So it's similar to maybe like, oh, I'm booked up for the summer as far as, your jobs and all that stuff goes. And so you focus on working those jobs and doing the creative, and then you forget, like, maybe I should call some people for September.
Stuff for next
Right.
year.
Yeah. So I think that probably happens in every industry, but that's how it happens in real estate.
Gotcha.
Real estate is a hard industry. I mean, it can look, when we look at someone like you or other successful agents, it can, because you don't see all the,
you don't see the struggle.
You don't see the struggle. It can look glamorous. You're like, oh, he gets to make all these fun shows and he sells all these houses. But what advice would you have for, since you are a real estate agent, what advice would you have for someone who's like, I think I'd like to go into that.
Yeah.
Probably
don't.
So you can sell more homes by yourself.
No. So no, it is. So go into it if you want to go into it full bore. It is not going to be, a lot of people get into real estate for the finances and the freedom, and they experience the freedom. And so they never get the finances, right? They're like, oh, I get to do whatever I want today because I am my own boss and I can choose my own schedule. So I'm going to go to work at 11 o'clock. I'm going to spend some time on the golf course in the afternoon, and that'll be my day. And if you do that, you're going to go broke. And I tell new agents all the time, like, you have to work, which sounds, when you say it like that, sounds real obvious, but it's not. And if they don't time block, they'll find themselves running errands or mowing the yard, or hey, I'm going to go ahead and do laundry right now because I don't have anything else to do. And like, they find themselves doing all of this other stuff. And before you know it, they're looking for a part-time job. And the reason is because they're not putting in the work. So when I didn't have any work, here's my time block. In the morning, I lead generate, then I follow up on the leads.
How early do you get up?
Huh?
How early are you up?
About 4:30 a.m.
Whew.
Well, that's because I go to the gym at 5. Most mornings I'm at the gym at 5. That's my me time, right? And then I'm getting ready for the day. I'm breakfast with the girls, all that kind of stuff. So I get to the office maybe around 8:30 or 9, right? Okay. So I lead generate in the morning, the lead follow up with leads. I contact my clients, my current buyers and current listings. Right? Then I follow up with things that are under contract. Then I do lunch. Usually I'm with someone or appointment or something like that. After that, I follow up again with the contracts. Then I have appointments in the afternoons. So I usually block about an hour and a half per appointment, maybe 2 hours if it's showing properties or something like that. So I'll have like 3 or 4 appointments. In the beginning, I would do that schedule, but I didn't have any appointments in the afternoon. So average real estate agent closes 5 to 6 houses a year. And average real estate agent would say, well, I guess I'm just going to go home or go golf or whatever, right? But I would use those times to go door knock or do more lead generation or create content or create a video, and you do the free stuff, right? If you don't have the money yet, just create something, put something out there, get known, go volunteer somewhere. And as you're volunteering, ask people, what real estate agent would you refer people to? And just hear what they say. If they're like, well, I don't really have one, I'd love to be the person that your organization refers real estate to. What could I do to help? I mean, fair exchange, right?
Yeah.
So start doing those kind of things, and then go home at 5 or 6 if you don't have any appointments. But in the beginning, like some agents were like, I only work 9 to 5. Well, that works if you have a team that can help people from 5 to 10 p.m.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, then if somebody sends you an offer at 6 p.m., if you just refuse to look at it, it's got a 4-hour expiration. You're doing a disservice to your client. So there are times where I have to work at night. There are times where, like tonight, I'll be showing houses till about 7 o'clock because somebody came in out of town. It's their only time here. Buyer specialist wasn't available, so I'm it. So that's what I'll be doing. So there are times where you have to work late, and if you have a spouse and family, you have to borrow some of those times. And so we make a schedule and a game plan, and we say, okay, here's our game plan. Here's where we want to do vacations. Here's where we want to do trips together. Here's where we want to go to the berry patch and pick pumpkins and peaches, and like here's everything we want to experience this year and this quarter. And so here's the times that I'm going to be busy, and here are my work days. And sometimes we have to change one of those days, right? We have to exchange and say, well, I can't do this family thing that night instead because this came up, we didn't foresee it. So let's do the family thing this night and then move this other thing there. And as long as especially the kids, as long as they see where they are on the game plan, they'll be super satisfied. And your spouse will usually work with you, but they have to know, especially as an entrepreneur and someone that's working for themselves, that there are times where you may be gone all day. And when you get home, you don't want to see anything or say anything or do anything. You just want to be home. And the last thing you want to hear is, did you sell something today? So anyone in sales, my mom gave my wife the best advice. She said, don't ever ask him if you sold something that day. Because my dad's been in sales for years. Yeah. And the last thing we want to think about when we get home is the sales field. You want to think about home. Yeah. And so we have a pattern, and she knows that every week I kind of check in. I'll tell her, like, here's what's under contract, here's what's going on. And that way she's familiar with it at least. Yeah. And we can have those conversations without having those conversations at home.
That's an important point, I think, for anybody wanting to start their own business or they think an entrepreneurial age. You don't have to kill yourself. You just have to be intentional with your time. Yes. You can work hard because you can time block, but you don't have to throw everything else away to build a business.
Working 16 hours but wasting most of that time is not near as beneficial as working 8 hours, but being so intentional with that time that every single minute is counted for and doing something purposeful.
Like last night, was it last night or the night before? Well, my kid had swim lessons. She's 3, right? So she's super excited. She went to one day, and she asked me that morning, Daddy, can you go to my swim lessons? I said, what time are they? She said, 4 o'clock. I said, yes. So I told my assistant, I have somewhere to be at 4 o'clock. And so we scheduled the whole day around that 4 o'clock. Like any appointments that came up, it was 4 o'clock. So at 4:01, I got swim lessons. And I got in there just in time to see her hit the water. And she looked up, she was like, oh, you're here. And so they know I'm super busy too, which is cool because then they value that time with me as well. Because on weekends as a real estate agent, sometimes I got to go show houses. It's creative. Sometimes you got to go shoot something, right? So having a family and balancing all that stuff. Yeah, holiday parties and stuff like that. You're always busy. Yeah. So it's really important to balance that. As long as everyone has the understanding that if I say I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there. It's great. But we were super intentional that day to get there. Yeah. Yesterday, my kids wanted to go swim in the evening, and my wife wanted to go work out. So I have to watch the kids while the wife works out, all that kind of stuff, right? So we plan it. We're intentional with it. We do it. And we get that time together. And then I had clients that were like pinging me the whole time. Right. And so I'm saying, hey, at 8:30, I'll be able to talk to you. I'll call you at 8:30. I'll call you back later. I'll call you at 8:30. And so I set up all these appointments from 8:30, 8:40, 8:45, 8:50. And so we get home and I tell Katie, I'm going to sit in the car, return these phone calls. She's like, cool, because we were done. And just boom, I got on the phone. Hour later, go back in the house, help her get everything to bed. But everything, everybody, everything.
Good night, coffee cup.
But having the plan in place and a spouse that understands is super helpful because, I got to spend time with them. We got to hang out. We got to eat dinner together. We got to spend that time together totally uninterrupted. I wasn't answering my phone except for the quick messages, right? And just telling people, just so they know, hey, I hear you, but it'll be a minute.
Yeah.
Right. Other than that, I was just hanging out with them. And so being super intentional in both your personal and in your professional career will sustain both sides, I think.
Yeah. It's awesome.
I love it.
So good.
Good times. Well, where can people find
times.
you on
Good
the
times, Greg.
interwebs?
This has been great. This is good times.
Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Allen.
Wait, where can people find you online?
So I'm still kind of developing the page, but rayellen.com is going to be the bouncing off to where they can find everything. So it's kind of under construction now, but we'll hopefully in the next week or two have that fixed.
And we also want to plug all the shows as well.
Okay, so the shows we just started a new one too. Everything.
All the things.
So here's all the things. The Bearded Men of Real Estate show podcast. We're having some problems with the podcast, but it's a show now. We actually got filtered out because we talk about brands, which I'm not going to mention a brand on your show because you might get filtered. But because we're a news show, but we talk brands, the filters picked up our brands, mentioning them, and it puts them for additional review. And by the time the review's through, the episode's old because it's a weekly show.
Yeah. So like specific brands as you're talking about? Wow.
Specific
like
real estate names.
Proper noun. Gotcha. Brands. Yeah.
Like
Zulia.
Zulia.
I'll mute you. I'll mute you during that right there.
You just put it on the screen.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't do that because now they're reading the text on the screen. So anyway, there's the ongoing battle. So we have to take it off of Anchor and we're putting it on a different system. So the Bearded Men of Real Estate show is every Wednesday Central Time at 12. You can find it just by typing the Bearded Men of Real Estate show and you'll find it.
It's on Facebook.
Home Sweet Arkansas is our local content show. We've already talked about that. The Real Q&A show is the every now and then episodic show. We film about 5 or 6 of those and then kind of stretch them out a little bit. But you can always submit questions. If somebody has questions about real estate, they can always just tell me a question and we'll put it on the show.
And just do that through DMing on Instagram,
or they can just
Twitter.
hashtag REALQA and we'll find it.
Perfect.
That's how several people have done it in the past. Let's see. What else do we have? Oh, the housing data dumps. Those are just the market analysis and market reports. So if you are local in Arkansas, that might be of interest. We have the new show. Have I done everything old? I feel like there's one more.
No, I think
Home Sweet Arkansas.
Home Sweet Arkansas.
Did we do that one?
Bearded Men of Real Estate. Housing data dump.
Real QA.
Real QA. I guess that's all.
it.
That doesn't seem like as much.
No.
I've said it that way.
But the new show.
But the new show is a new clippy show. Very quick. It's called Real Estate Fake Estate. And we're going to be exposing some of the things that agents have always said and that may or may not be true. And we're going to expose some of the practices that real estate agents do that may or may not be beneficial to the consumer. So there's going to be some legit ones on there that you're going to think, oh, well, that's definitely fake. But then you're going to realize, well, maybe not. Maybe not. It depends on how it's used. So we're going to kind of get into some of those details because there's just stuff out there that's driving me crazy that I want to talk publicly about, actually. That's where that video idea came from.
Nice.
And then lastly, I mean, people can on Facebook, Ray Allen Group at Pixel Properties Realty.
Yeah, Ray Allen Group. You can also find me on Instagram at Ray Zorback, RayZorback. The Ray Allen Group Insta is dead. So I have to finish uploading.
Yeah, I
cool
noticed
stuff.
it's only like.
Well, every time I would upload it, people would like it. I'm like, they don't get it. And so I unfollowed everyone, and I'm trying to make it a very dead account, but people keep following it, so I got to keep uploading. So I'm trying to upload like 3 at a time.
Okay.
I'm spacing it out.
Why aren't you just doing it all?
Because it's flooding people's feed. So, yeah. So what we're doing for this dead account is I'm uploading a really cool background and a thing, and it takes a while to.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Can you make that to where it doesn't hit the home, but it still is in your? You can't
Not that
really
I
do
know
that,
of.
Can you?
No, you can't like upload an archive.
Yeah.
That's what you could do, and then unarchive it. But
Interesting.
I could upload it and instantly archive it, but then I'd have to unarchive all of it.
Just spam everyone by just loading them all.
I thought about doing that one night late, but some of my clients still follow it. I'm trying to like tell them like, don't follow this.
Yeah, and now the algorithms are changed. It's not going to be time. It's going to be based on like if they like your stuff a lot and they see your stuff a lot. That's just what's going to show up.
So the Ray Allen Group is dying, and we're just using Ray Zorback. So that's my personal, but it's also business. So yeah, nice. That's a good jumping off spot for everything. You also will note on there that I am a model. It says it on Instagram, so it's true.
It's so true. Yeah,
if it's on the internet,
it literally says I am a model who happens to be a top real estate agent.
Oh man.
We like to hack the system.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Awesome. Well, Ray, thank you so much for being on. This has been fun.
Thanks for having me. This is good.
Okay, bye.
See you next time.